and welcome to our unit design. During this unit, students will learn how to multiply multi-digit whole numbers. This unit is extremely important for students to practice and master. There are so many real-life concepts that connect to this unit, like calculating costs, finding the capacity for various events, or the number of items needed for a celebration. This concept is also a Common Core state standard that fifth graders should have mastered by the end of the year. Knowing your learners is extremely important when designing a unit. For this unit, we will be working with fifth graders from an elementary school in Schiller Park, Illinois. There are about 160 total fifth graders with ages ranging from 10 to 11 years old. More than half of the students are low-income students, while close to half of the students are English language learners. The chart on the right shows the racial diversity in the grade. Half of the students are white, while almost 40% of the students are Hispanic, to name a few. Now that we know the makeup of our learners, we want to take a closer look at what the students already know before starting this unit. These students have had exposure to multiplication facts and concepts in fourth grade. They also used Common Core state standards to guide their math lessons in the previous years. Students also have background knowledge in using iPads to complete assignments, which they will use this year. Nearpod is an online tool that the students have gotten familiar with in other areas of learning, so they already know how to navigate the features on Nearpod. Another tool that students are very familiar with is Google Classroom. This will be a place where students can turn in their assignments. Aside from the technology tools they are familiar with, students have loved to collaborate with their classmates while working in small groups. They do a great job of helping one another solve problems with concepts as well as technology issues. Because of their background knowledge in these areas, students are much more engaged with this unit because they experience activities where they're able to be creative and use technology at the same time. To make our lesson even stronger, we have developed objectives for students to complete throughout the unit. Considering our technology tools, we expect students to be able to collaborate and fluently multiply multi-digit whole numbers with 90% accuracy. They will use Nearpod and their classmates to accomplish these objectives. Each assignment will lead the students to the mastery of performing operations with multi-digit whole numbers and decimals. By the end of this unit, students will fluently multiply multi-digit whole numbers using the standard algorithm, or what my math specialist called the old people's way. When considering our learning objectives, we thought using Gagne's 9 events of instruction would be an appropriate design strategy for this unit. As you can see in the picture on the right, there are 9 events or steps to the strategy. First, you want to gain the attention of your students. This will ensure that all students are interested and ready to start learning. Some ideas to gain the attention of your students is to use a video or ask a really deep question. Then you want to move on to informing the students of their objectives. You want to make sure that each student understands what is expected of them by the end of the unit. Next, the teacher will want to stimulate recall of prior knowledge. This is using the student's schema. Throughout each lesson, the student will want to relate the new information to something that they already know. This is especially useful for our English language learners, so they can make connections to help better understand the content. Then the teacher will present the content. This is where we teach the lesson. After we present the content, teachers will provide learning guidance. We will give students various strategies to help them while learning. The 6th event is providing the students time to practice the concept. Students will apply what they have learned to show understanding. Then, the teacher will provide feedback for the students. Feedback is extremely important for the student to understand what they are or are not understanding in that moment. After teachers provide feedback, they will assess the students to see if the objectives have been met. Finally, the teachers will connect this new concept to real-world situations to help students retain the information. This design strategy is appropriate for the unit because it helps students to learn a new concept in a way that makes them excited and confident. Each of the 9 steps will be used during each lesson. This unit will be interactive and fun because of the technology tools chosen. Nearpod will be our most prominent technology tool seen in the unit. We will use Nearpod's features like the discussion board, the matching game, and the drawing tools to help students understand how to multiply multi-digit whole numbers. Nearpod has added a ton of value to each lesson we teach. For this specific lesson, it will give students a way to interact with others through the computer while learning new content. It will also give students a competitive side with their time to climb quiz game. That shows the teacher if objectives are met or if we need to revisit a lesson. Finally, students will gain immediate feedback through digital responses from the teacher. Besides Nearpod, we will also include activities on Seesaw, Prodigy, and IXL, which we know all students love. Are you ready to see our magnifying plans for each day? Throughout the next few slides, you will see what our plan is for every day of this unit. Day 1. We will start the unit by introducing the concept of multiplying multi-digit numbers. We'll give the students a real-world problem to think about and try to solve. This problem will activate the student's schema and help them make connections to the content. Students will continue practicing after the teacher has provided the objectives and steps to solving the problems. We must remind students there are multiple ways to solve multiplication problems. On the right is an example of the standard algorithm, which students will learn how to do in this unit. Day 2, students will work in small groups to complete real-world problems with multiplying multi-digit numbers. They will use Nearpod to watch videos on how to round numbers so they can find an estimate. They can check their work with their estimates. Of course, if they're close, then their answer is probably right. Students will show their work like the example on the right. The third day of work will be dedicated to reviewing different strategies for multiplying. Students will use Nearpod to learn how to draw bar graphs. They will complete various practice problems on Nearpod while drawing their own bar graphs. An example of a problem students will see is on the side. For example, Kai ordered 1,012 baseball cards. Sharon ordered 5 times as many cards as Kai. Write and solve an equation to find B, the number of baseball cards that Sharon ordered. They will see the bar graph and they'll be able to solve it on their own. The next day, students will be assessed. There will be a quiz on Nearpod containing 2-digit by 2-digit multiplication problems. Some of the questions will be multiple choice and some will be fill in the blank. Students will use the standard algorithm, rounding and estimating, and bar diagrams to complete each problem. The results from this quiz will be used to determine small groups for days 5 and 6 of instruction, and Nearpod will even give us a summary of the student performances, like what is shown at the bottom. For days 5 and 6, we will focus on multiplying 3-digit by 2-digit numbers. One method we will introduce is the turtle head method, which you can see on the right. When you draw a circle around the numbers that are being multiplied, it looks like a turtle. The students love it. Students will begin by solving real-world problems on Nearpod, and the teacher can give immediate feedback for students to continue practicing. Then the students will have the opportunity to design their own real-world problem. Students will work in groups to annotate those word problems and discuss the best strategies for solving each one. At the end of day 6, students will review everything they have learned so far through a game of Jeopardy! On the last day of this unit, students will have their summative assessment. Some questions will have students solve problems. They may fill in the blank, but they're also going to analyze why some answers are incorrect. Teachers will grade this using the standards-based grading scale. If students finish early this day, of course, they can go on to Prodigy. During this unit, teachers will differentiate in multiple ways. First, graph paper will be used. This helps students to line up their numbers correctly so they can make sure they do the problem in the right way. Another thing that will be used is a graphic organizer. There will be a digital option and a paper option. This is great to use in school and at home. This organizer will break down each step of multiplying multi-digit whole numbers. For those students who need a challenge, they will receive problems with numbers in the thousands or 10,000s place. And finally, students who are English language learners or who have IEPs will have test accommodations. They will test in small groups with a smaller amount of questions. They will also receive extended time to complete the test. Aside from those accommodations and differentiations, students will also use assistive technology devices. This unit, they will use calculators to solve simple multiplication facts. This will allow students to focus on the standard being assessed rather than getting basic math facts wrong because they don't remember them. While students are learning this unit, they will receive a few handouts to explain expectations and strategies. The first handout will show the standard being assessed, as well as what students will do or be expected to do throughout the unit. The big question at the bottom will be referred to during each lesson. The second handout is a Helping with Math flyer for students. It has vocabulary words and definitions that connect to the lesson, a timely word problem, yay Halloween, and a place for students to solve that problem. The third handout is a detailed worksheet that shows the steps in solving multi-digit multiplication problems. The colors help students to really see exactly what is happening in the problems. All three of these handouts are very helpful for both students and parents. These student artifacts are from a program called Math by Example. The students will show they understand how student A did it incorrectly and explain the reasoning. And then in student B's case, they will tell us how they know the student did it correctly. Here you will see 3 examples of Nearpod activities that students will complete. First, you will see the matching game. Students will click on 2 boxes that go together. One is a multiplication problem, one is a product. They will light up blue if they are correct. The second artifact is showing the drawing tool. Students will use the drawing tools to show their work. Finally, the third artifact is the discussion board. This is the kids' favorite. This is where students will explain how they solved various problems for other classmates to see. Their answers pop up as they put them in. Then we get to our online digital content for students. This has all of our handouts, so parents and students can refer back to them if they get lost. We will also post student artifacts for students and parents to refer to when studying for quizzes and tests. There will be various resources for students to use. The fun part? Students can click right on the logo of any place they want to go, and it'll take them directly to the website. After reviewing our unit, we have concluded that it falls into the augmentation level of the SAMR model. Students are being exposed to new ways of practicing concept and skills through Nearpod. Schoology says, in the augmentation stage, technology is directly substituted for traditional teaching. Our unit helps keep students engaged and encourages collaboration and real-world connections in and out of the classroom. Throughout the unit, students will complete a quiz and a summative assessment. If students score a 1 or a 2 on the summative assessment, that means they need some more guidance, and the teacher will provide extra work to help them to master the standard. If a student receives a score of a 3 or a 4, they are proficient or have already mastered the standard and will need some enrichment activities. These scores will help create small groups for future lessons and will help the teacher to know who needs reteaching for particular lessons. Then at the very end of our unit, we will have students give feedback on the use of Nearpod and if they felt it was an effective way to learn a new concept. This survey will help us teachers modify our curriculum in the future so that students continue to have fun and stay engaged.